barely knew you existed until today. But now you've stepped onto my stage, and you thought there would be no consequences.
We are at the end of kind of a trilogy here that's been building since the beginning of Diablo 4, and kind of paying off a lot of stuff that was set up at the very beginning of this brand new chapter of Diablo. So let's do like an update, a roll call on all of the characters and kind of where they're at right now.
You are but a man, and men are just so small.
That's just how Mephisto operates, right? He twists the religions and the institutions of humanity against them to try to get power from kind of within. He doesn't need to have a confrontation as a big fight, ultimate fight sort of thing. That's not how he operates. He's on a more intellectual level. He always has been. And it's not the first time he's, messed around with trying to corrupt Sanctuary from within, right? He tried to do this around the time with Diablo 2 with the Zakrum Church. He learned his lessons. Now he's going to have kind of a bigger play that he's trying to do it. And the whole world is his stage for this.
He never just goes from point A to point B, right? Like, he likes to play with his food. He thinks little of humans and what they really control about their fate. And so, the things he does partly is in a way for his own enjoyment too, just to see like how much he can mess with everybody before he gets what he wants, rather than just, going straight for his goal, right?
The path to domination is paved with the souls of the willing.
I think his perspective on humanity is they're like ants. Like, he just sees himself as so far beyond, above. That's just, they're nothing, right? Like, he is in the closest thing we have to this notion of a god walking among Sanctuary right now. Nobody means anything to him, right? Like, characters, even the Haradrim are just like nothing. They're like specks to him. He doesn't see anything really as a threat. And it's kind of what makes him so dangerous going into Lord of Hatred. He has his plan. He's got all his parts figured out to the point where, yeah, he can just sort of play with his food, right? That's how confident he is.
Now the wolf shall rise anew.
It's in his very nature, right? He's the Lord of Hatred.
Now our true work begins.
Yeah, so I'll say she's back. Exactly how she's going to be back, we'll kind of leave that a little bit of a mystery. But I will say this, if you remember back to the very beginning of Diablo 4, you're in that weird shed in the back and the guy shoves some blood petals in your mouth, right? And it's like, oh man, what are the chances that would happen to you and then set you on this crazy path? Because as a result of that moment, Lilith has been in you in some way ever since that happened. It let you have sort of the interactions and the insight into her motivations and stuff as a result in Diablo 4. But even ever since Diablo 4 launched, and our players have been playing through seasons, and also during Vessel of Hatred, there have been moments where other characters notice something about you, or that you yourself have things happen to you, right? Like, there's something wrong with you. And so she's been there the whole time. And this is the moment where we kind of pay off, like, oh, what's this journey been like, right? And you have to figure out a way to reconnect with her at this point.
Once we get to Skovos, we'll need to act fast. Come on, let's get aboard.
Skovos is the new region that we're going through. It's a chain of islands based heavily off, Aegean, Mediterranean, ancient Greece and things like that. And there's something really special about this because we've detailed so much about Skovos and the various cultures as far back as Diablo 2 and then some books and things like that since. So this is the first time we actually get to go. So we dove right into the source material. It's like, okay, so special things about Skovos. It's actually ruled by two queens. One is the Amazon Queen. In this case, it's Adriana. The other one is the Oracle, who is also a character that we're going to be meeting in the story. And then their society is actually kind of diverse. They have these very specific orders. The Amazon Order is one of them. The Oracle Order is another. There's a few others like artisan guilds and things like that. And again, they've just been living here sort of secluded from the rest of the world for a very long time. The oceans prove a natural boundary, but even in the case of supernatural threats, the Amazons show up and they defend the islands and they keep the peace and they keep order. And it's a benevolent sort of queenship here, right? She's not like a bloodthirsty ruler or anything. She's beloved by her people, respected by her people, and she loves and respects them in turn. So this is as close as we get to like a fully functioning place. The joke I always made is like, the people pay their taxes and they fix the roads. That's what's special about here, is this is the one place that proves, hey, what can Sanctuary be if it wasn't constantly torn apart by demon invasions and all this other stuff? Oh man, this is like what it could be, which also makes it a tempting target for this guy, right?
Mephisto's planning a spectacle of some kind, and I'd wager it'll be much darker than any of these people expect.
One of the earliest conversations we had about Skovos is, Skovos, what is the strength of Skovos? Like, they've sort of been undefeated, and they've made it through all these many catastrophes historically because their people are unified. They're all on the same page, right? Everyone plays their part. Everyone supports each other. Anytime any threat shows up, all the islands band together and fight them off and stuff like that. So what happens when a force like the Lord of Hatred, who rips people apart, shows up in this kind of space? What happens to that society? What happens to those people, right? So he's going right at the heart of it. And again, it's a little bit to prove his point. He's like, not even those guys.
I have brought blood to this city. Blood and hate.
Lorath and some of the other Haroutunian go there looking for them, and they end up getting wrapped up in all these events going on in Skovos at the time. There's Drowned kind of attacking, there's some other political intrigue going on, and Lorath meets Adriana before she was queen, and she was just an Amazon captain, kind of climbing the ranks, trying to do what she could to protect Skovos. And that's where their relationship kind of starts.
You're in danger.
I don't understand. The people say he's a saint.
The Amazons in Diablo 2 are from Skovos. And so we get to see that class archetype as basically that's the army that patrols and guards and fights for Skovos. That's who they are. That is their primary military force. And at this point, they're one of the only powerful military forces left on Sanctuary, because everything else has been so wrecked, like the last, couple decades, including during Diablo 4. So they're the bulwark. There's nothing else really left at this point. And it just so happens they're one of the best, right? It's the Amazons.
Our relationship with Lorath, obviously, he's one of our staunchest allies, one of our closest friends throughout all of this. And for Adriana, it's more of a question, an interesting question of what will she do about Mephisto being here? How is she changed by interactions with Akarat and Mephisto, and how that changes her view of us as we go through the story.
My queen, let him walk free, so that all who look upon him will be reminded of what hate can do.
So it is the end of the Age of Hatred, right? A kind of arc that we're talking about. And we kind of talk about this in terms of it's a moment in time. Things like all the way back in the original Diablo with the fall of King Laric, that was this pivotal moment that changed the trajectory of a bunch of things. So we're kind of looking at this in sort of the same lens. This is one of those moments in time, right? Where in the future, people can look back at this moment narratively and say like, oh, that was this moment where this happened. And it is this conclusion. We're aiming to make sure that we give a satisfying conclusion to this arc.
That's it, everyone. Hopefully you guys are as excited as I am about jumping into Diablo 4 Lord of Hatred. For everything else, stick with IGN.